Warning, this podcast discusses paranormal activity and other topics some might find disturbing. Listener discretion is advised. Hello, everybody.
Hey, y'all. Guess who's back?
Dan.
The man. Back in the saddle again.
He is back. He is ready to go. We went on a ghost hunt together, so he's like, I know what we're talking about today.
I even thought I was going to have to remind you that we were recording today.
Nope, I am on it.
You barely. I was about to remind
No.
you. Yes, I was. And then you were like, you know we're recording tonight. I'm like, yeah, hussy, I know.
I know. Did you just call me a hussy?
Sorry, I'm getting a little keyed up.
You are keyed up. I was going to say, I will Libra jump Libra.
What is that
I don't
exactly?
know.
Yeah.
I will jump this desk. I will. I mean, it might
I've seen your legs.
They're short.
They're short. I'll just have to roll out of the way.
Like slow motion.
Yeah.
Why are our mics are like, woof.
They're all over the place.
They really are.
My levels. I was singing a good song earlier.
You were jamming by yourself.
It was catchy.
It was something.
Catchy jingle.
Hello, everybody. This is your host, Ashley.
And this is your lovable, laughable co-host, Daniel.
Lovable, laughable. Welcome to Ghost Gossip. Oh, gosh. Welcome back, honey.
Thank you.
It's been a few weeks since we've seen you.
Well,
I mean, I see you every day,
yeah,
but
you're the lucky one.
I am so lucky. I'm so lucky.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute.
It's been since we did the Pinhurst, and you were not firing on all cylinders.
No, I was not.
You were half asleep.
Yeah, I was not up.
No, he was quite down.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we are back. He went on a little ghost tour with me. Actually, we had two friends come with us too.
We did.
And we had a group of us, and then we had the guy, I don't know if he's going to listen, but hello to our other group members. We had a guy with some equipment, and then we had the husband with the skeptical wife.
Yep.
Skeptical? Am I saying that word right?
Skeptic. Now you've got...
See, it sounds funny, doesn't it? Skeptical.
With lots of skepticism.
Yes. She didn't seem like she wanted to be there.
Skeptical.
But we had a really good group. It was an interesting evening. It was like energetic, but it wasn't. So what we did was we went to Southern Grace Distilleries in Mount Pleasant, North Carolina. And it was really cool.
It's very cool. Great bourbon.
I did not try any bourbon. I am not a bourbon kind of girl. But we went up there, and thanks to Ben, he was our tour guide. I met Ben on TikTok probably maybe 2 months ago is when the first time he reached out.
Okay.
And
I thought you'd known him longer than that, honestly.
No, not at all. No, we
That's
just
cool.
kind of picked up, he's really easy to talk to. And so we had messaged back and forth a few times, and we went out there. He showed us the place. He gave us just a brief history. So just a little bit of brief history about the Southern Grace Distilleries. It used to be a state correctional facility.
Now they make bourbon.
Yes, now they make bourbon, but it was
so good.
But it really does look like a prison with the fence and the big gates around it and the barbed wire.
They didn't change much.
No,
they really didn't.
They really didn't. Other than you can kind of come in and out.
The gift shops and stuff. You can tell
that's really cool.
You can tell they built that, but other than that, it's the same buildings that were used during it while it was used as a prison are being used by Southern Grace.
Right. So the prison was built in 1927, and Ben said there's not a ton of history on it. And I was going to try to do a deep dive, but time escapes me.
Ooh, can I do the history portion?
Sure.
So the original prison, which is now being used as the rick house or where they store the barrels for the bourbon.
Lots of barrels.
Was originally constructed in 1927 and opened for its first guest was in 1929. There's basically two different wings. It's one long building. There's a block and B block, and it was originally designed to hold 100 inmates.
I thought it was 50 at first.
Well, it's 50 per block.
Okay, 50 per, okay.
50 per block, total 100. When they moved out of that building, there were, I think, 240. I think he said 240.
240, 250.
Yeah, in that building that was designed for 100 men.
It's very small. It is not it's a big building if it was like somebody's living space.
Right, but
for that many people?
Imagine 250.
No.
And on each block in the bathrooms, there's 3 sinks, 3 toilets, and 3 shower heads.
It's a tight squeeze.
Yeah, so I mean, you imagine if you're in there with, 125 men.
Yeah, I don't want to imagine. I mean, that is...
Yeah, brick building, metal roof. They didn't have any kind of... I'm sure the summers were super hot.
They said it was hot.
Winters were super cold. I mean, I think they did have some kind of heat source during the winter. But yeah, It was nothing about the place felt heavy to me as an empath. For me, like, I did not feel anything super heavy. The energy did shift throughout our tour, but it wasn't anything like super like, oh my God, there's something evil here, you know? And I think part of that is because there is a new building that they built adjacent. It was built in what year?
He said the 80s. I don't think he told me in a specific year.
I want to say that they opened that building up in 86 is when they originally opened it up. And it has 4 pods is what they called them. And I think it was designed to hold...
Did he tell us how many it held? I can't remember.
I want to say 400. I think he said 400, 100 men, or... I
don't know if he... I think he might have told us, but I was kind of in the zone once we started the tour.
I can't remember exactly, but I know he did say, I think at some point they were up to 400 or 500 men in that place, which is a lot for that building. I mean, we walked through it, so... And
originally it was known as the Cabarrus? The Cabarrus?
Cabarrus, or I'm not sure.
We're probably saying this wrong.
Yeah, we're probably just butchering
we
this.
Spent 10 minutes trying to figure out, but it's Cabarrus. I'm just going to guess it. Cabarrus Correctional Center. And they have this sign in there, and it very much, if you've ever been in a jail or a prison, it very much feels like a holding facility.
Yeah, it's like a beefed up hospital. It's kind of the vibe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's, but you can tell it was a building that was built and designed in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. And that stayed open until 2011.
2011, is when they finally closed it. And I think that's one of the reasons why there's not such a ominous presence, is because you did have like actual live activity up until, 14 years ago?
Yeah, and it didn't run as long as
other... Is that right? 14 years ago?
2011, I guess so, yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That hurts. That is not a ghost.
No, that is a daisy. Some of these really old prisons have been in operation for over 100 years. This one,
90 years.
Yeah. It really, and it wasn't as big as some of these others. Some of these others house like 10,000 inmates in its lifetime. And I didn't look, like I said, I didn't do a deep dive on this because Ben's like, there's not a ton of history.
It was probably thousands,
Yeah, probably. It's a really small county. It was a state correctional facility, so it was operational for the state of North Carolina. Mm-hmm. But do you remember the history about the land he told us about?
It was a farm, I believe, or a plantation. And I think it was a farm is what he called it.
Yeah.
And there was a house, and the man, I can't remember his name.
Matthias, I think he said. Matthias Barrier.
And so Matthias he ran the farm, he owned it, and he had 6 slaves. And after Southern Grace bought the property, they were doing some research, and I think wasn't Ben's wife. Maybe it was
Ben's wife?
I don't know if it was Ben's wife or somebody else.
No. It's the lady, I believe, that runs the facility.
Okay, she's the one that did some research.
He told us her name, and it escapes me. No, he told us her
tall.
name. She is very tall. We met her initially when we got there, and she was kind of like starting on your tasting, and I cannot remember her name. She's very tall. I can find it, but...
Someone did some research and found out about this Matthias and found out that the house had burned, and one of the little girl slaves...
Lizzie was the little girl slave that was 14 years old that died on the property. Emily is the lady that we met who did the research of the facility.
Emily is very living.
Yes, Emily is alive. So we met her, unless she's visible to all of us. She has a lot of energy.
But so we didn't really go into much more.
It could have been Virginia. He told us her name.
I think he said Virginia was the one that did the research.
Okay, maybe. So Emily is the director of tourism and operations for the facility, and Virginia is the bartender and gift shop manager. So one of them, I'm just trying to give them some credit. One of those beautiful ladies, they were the one that did the research
and found this.
Right.
Doug kind of dug it up through county records, state records, stuff like that. Yeah, it definitely has a long history that dates back to Civil War. Mm-hmm. That was when Matthias owned it.
Let's see. So Ben says Matthias Barrier was the landowner in Civil War time. He had 6 slaves. Lizzie was 14. She is still there, and she follows Ben around often. There's also a 2-year-old little boy named Victor, Matthias's son. My best guess is that she helped in the house with the kids, and other slaves helped with the cooking and the cleaning. He didn't specify here, and it might be in our recording, but they died in the house fire. So several of them died in the house fire.
Okay.
And then Victor died from an illness. So on the property.
Got you. But I mean, all that land up there, it's very old land.
It is old land, yeah.
I wonder if people understand what that means. I don't.
All the land is old, Daniel.
Yes, yeah, but it's just a very storied area. It's that part of Appalachia.
Right. It's a really beautiful, it's not all that developed. It still has that very small town vibe.
Yes.
So it's outside of Concord, North Carolina. And it really is, if you have a moment to get up there and visit,
beautiful.
it's beautiful. They're very
Gorgeous.
friendly, and it's, it's out there, and it's really nice. And it hasn't been touched. There's a beautiful house for sale kind of on Main Street, Mount Pleasant.
Yep.
And it is almost like a plantation looking home. It is very beautiful.
And let me just throw out a prop to Cantina 73. Got it going on with the
that
Mexican
food is delicious.
Yeah,
I feel so sorry for that waitress we had. Y'all were off the chain a little.
Well, we had fun.
Y'all did have a good
We had a
time.
blast.
You had a good time. And poor thing, she didn't know what y'all were talking about. I'm like, we're from the big city of Greenville, South Carolina.
Yeah. So back to the pen.
Yep,
The
we're going
slammer.
back to the jail. We got, Ben had initially, he was supposed to meet us there earlier. We got there early so y'all could,
Drink bourbon.
try the bourbon.
We tried lots of bourbons.
I did not. Like I said, I did look around the gift shop. The gift shop's really cool. And
I do recommend the Founders Reserve. If you go, get you a bottle of the Founders Reserve. It's like butter. It's amazing. Got a bottle.
yeah. And then I got a sweatshirt.
And I got a hat.
Yeah, I got a sweatshirt. But anyway, we went up there. We were supposed to meet him before the tour since him and I had been chatting. He was going to give us a little walkthrough before, which he did.
Yeah.
But he got there late. And he got there late because the key to the jail was missing in his house. And he had hung it up and then it went missing. And he said he accused everybody in his house of stealing and moving it. And they were like, we did not move it. So that key ended up on the top shelf in a cabinet in a bread basket. He's like, I was like, have you gone in that bread basket lately? He's like, no.
Weird.
So that key that he keeps, he says there's only one key. And if we get locked in, we can't get out because that is the key that gets us in and out of the jail.
Can we make another key, Ben?
Ben, my friend, can we make another key? So when he finally got there, he chatted us up a little bit. He did take us on a little pre-tour before the other members of the group arrived. And
it was still daylight when we did this,
Yes.
which is, I think, important.
Ben and I got a lot of activity just right off the gate. Like he took me by myself into the barrel room and he's like introducing me to the boys. He's like, hey boys, I got somebody to introduce you to. They came a long way. They came to meet you. And it was really quiet. It kind of felt uncomfortable. Like we're just talking into the ether. Like, what is he doing? And then you hear it. And then you hear another. And I know the people we were with, they're like, that's just barrels expanding. And it could be some of it. But then you hear the boom, 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 boom.
I was standing outside and I heard two loud. The one was very loud, sounded like something was slamming down. The other one was further away from me, but it wasn't as loud.
I just got chills.
But those were, I'm standing outside like, what's going on in there?
Yes, because Ben wouldn't let Daniel come in. He said, I'm just going to take her. And it was initially...
I'm like, where are you taking my wife, Ben?
Excuse me, Ben. We go and he closes the door and turns all the lights off. And I'm like, oh, this is fun. And it's daylight. There's windows everywhere. So it is well lit in there. And I have a video on TikTok. Go check it out. And he just starts talking to A Block. And he's like, guys, come on, make a noise. And then he starts talking to B Block. And you can hear the sounds coming from either side. So they start coming from A Block, and then they start coming from B Block, and then they go back to A Block. But the loudest noise sounded like footsteps on top of the barrels. It was that do-do-do-do. And it was just like, it did not sound like a typical wood expanding or sounds on a metal roof. It wasn't the wind. It was really weird. And I just laughed because what else am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
And it was almost responding to him. And so after that, the guys came into the barrel room. And in this barrel room, it is a good thing to know that these guys don't like bald men. It's really specific. They do not like bald men. And both my husband and his friend are bald.
Very much so.
Very much. Follicule challenged. Did I say that right?
No. No, you did not.
Oh, well. They don't have no hair.
I call it looking good.
You do look very nice bald.
Thank you.
I've seen pictures of you with hair, and you've tried to grow your hair out since we've been together, and it's not recommended.
Those are two different stories.
Shave it off. You look like Al Bundy. Another story for a different day. We did dress up like them for Halloween. So anyway, after we leave the barrel room, Ben shows me, what was it? The hot house.
Yes, the hot house.
Which apparently hundreds of people died in there or because of being in there. So we'll get to that. And we didn't go in in there initially, but it just has a really spooky vibe just looking at it.
Heavy.
Funny thing about this building, he sent me a picture and we were talking on Instagram, and I have all of this in writing. And I'm like, that place gives off a vibe. And we sent messages at the same time. And I said, that looks like a place where a lot of bad things happened. And immediately at the same time, he sent me a text saying, hundreds of men died in here. We sent those at the same time. Another funny thing about that is when he sent me that building, I've seen that building before, but I cannot tell you where. He said he hasn't posted it anywhere, and he hasn't posted it in a story, and it's not on their website. But I was looking at that building and I was like, I've seen that building before somewhere.
What the hothouse was they could keep them in there for up to 30 days.
Up to 30 days.
It was a form of punishment. And that was after they deemed it cruel and unusual to whip the prisoners, because they would just put them on a whipping post and flog them. And so they decided that was cruel and unusual. So they built these hothouses at penitentiaries across the state, and they would put these men in there. And during the summer, it would get
80, 90, 100 degrees.
No, it would, inside there would probably...
Oh, no, I mean outside.
Yeah, inside there would probably be anywhere from 120 to 150 degrees. And these men were in there. It was a dirt floor.
It was 2 men at a time.
Yep. And they could be in there up to 30 days. So many men either died in there or died after because it destroyed their bodies. Fun fact, that is only, there's only 2 of those left in the state of North Carolina.
Really?
The only reason that one survived is because they put a floor in it. They put a concrete floor in it and used it as storage. And so at some point they deemed that throwing human beings in a small brick building and letting them bake via sun. So they deemed that cruel and unusual. They tore all of them down, but they turned this one into a storage. Yeah. And so it was only one of 2 that's still standing in North Carolina.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yep.
Yeah, it is. Ben had said there's like mediums that won't even go in there. I'm not a medium. I did not feel... Now looking at it, I look at it and I'm like, that place looks like bad things happen. It just has a vibe. But I have been in heavy places before where I have felt like almost had a visceral reaction to a location, and I was like, I have to get out of here. I did not have that feeling. Now, what did I tell you about that place though? Remember my vision that I had before we went there?
I don't.
I told you.
I'm not saying you didn't tell me, but I don't remember.
When we were leaving for the prison, I had like a premonition type vision in my head. It could be just my imagination. I said, Daniel, I have this really vivid vision that you're going to be doing dowsing rods and you're going to only have light from a door.
Oh, I do remember you saying that.
You're going to be in a building.
Going to be like backlit.
Yes. And Justin, our friend, is going to be watching you doing these dowsing rods in complete shock. That was my vision that I had hours before.
You were wrong, though. It was Justin with the dowsing rods in the hothouse.
It was, but everything, but his face, he was shocked.
Yeah.
And I told him, I was like, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was
I
cool.
didn't make that happen. I didn't force that to happen. That just happened. And when it was happening, I was like, oh my gosh, so it wasn't Daniel. It was Justin I was seeing. Anyway, thought that was pretty cool. So after we saw the hothouse, we went into the addition that was built in the 80s. And that place, it's not like it's scary. It smells like bourbon.
and mash.
It smells.
And it is where... It's the production facility now for Southern Grace.
Right. So we kind of got a tour.
Very cool.
Yes. And we went into solitary, and I'll talk about the bunkhouse. The bunkhouse is now like a storage room. But after, when we're just walking through there initially with Ben, we're just like, oh, here's barrels. And then we go into the solitary where Joker is. Mm-hmm. And he has a music box, and the music box went off immediately when we walked in. And I asked him, can that pick us up from here? Because skeptic at heart, you question everything and you try to disprove until you can't. And that's when it's paranormal, when you cannot disprove it or explain it.
Yep.
And he
said,
the
unexplainable.
Right. And he said, no, it can't. But it only did it right when we were in front. So I don't know. But I will say.
there's more, but there's more.
When Ben and I were standing there and he was talking about Joker, my whole body got energized like there was a man who had just walked up to me and was looking at me. He was standing right beside me. I can't tell you what he looked like, but I can tell you he was taller than me, and he was standing beside me, and I felt him like looking at me like I'm right here. And it was the feeling. And that was still daylight because the tour hasn't started at this point.
Yeah.
So after that, we leave there and we go and meet with the rest of our tour.
Right.
So that's when the tour begins. And we go into the chapel and we start there. He starts telling us about the property. He puts his REM pod out. I put my REM pod out. And that's when we started getting activity. We had EMFs going crazy. I had my spirit talker running, the necrometer, and then we had the REM pods.
I think the REM pods each went off like twice.
His REM pod was going off more, and then mine started going off. And mine did not go off as much as his, but our EMF readers, he had his on his side of the table. I had mine on my side of the table, and they were almost like taking turns going off.
Yeah.
Like it was to the point where I looked under the table because I wanted to see if there was something under the table that could be triggering it. And I even asked him, is there anything under the floor that could be activating this? Because I want to be fair.
Right.
Not everything is paranormal.
No, it's not.
And he's like, nope, the cement floor. And I was like, well, it looks like a cement floor to me. So just checking. But yeah, there was nothing under that table. And with EMF readers are not reliable ghost detectors on their own because they can be triggered by phones, lights, electrical.
But they can cue you in on something.
Yes, any kind of change of frequency in EMF energy. So these just kept going off. And what was weird, it was like it was kind of bouncing back from one side of the table to the other side of the table to the other side. So that was our initial start to the actual tour. Then after the tour started, we went into the bunkhouse. And that's where we had some really cool activity with the dowsing rods and my app,
SLS.
It was the SLS, but I'm trying to think of it. I'm trying to give him a shout out. He sent that app to me to try. And it's, Ghost Science M3. It's a ghost paranormal science toolkit. And it's very cool. And he had sent this to me a while back when we were supposed to have an investigation with Jessica. And it was funny because there was a lot of bugs. But we were in this room where Tom and Jake were. And Justin kept getting EMF hits.
In the same spot.
In
I
one
did too.
spot,
and
yes.
I did too.
And he was like, and then one of the guys, one of the gentlemen that were with us, they were like, that used to be bunk. There were just bunks, right? And Ben's like, yeah, there were just bunks. And they were like 18 inches apart. Yeah. So where his EMF reader was going off was where they would have been laying down.
Yeah.
Well, I got my SLS camera out and I got a figure laying down.
Yeah, and the REM
Did
pods,
you see that video?
Yes. And the REM pods were going off too.
Yes, the REM pods were triggering, or my REM pod, because Ben didn't bring his. My REM pod was going. I was just talking about the video. It said 3 spirits and show it. When I said, did you see the video? It said show it.
There was also temperature changers. It was going up and down.
It was real weird.
It was fluctuating. There was some temperature changes. I want to say like 10 to 12 degrees up and down. Yeah, we're going to the beach tomorrow.
We're going to the beach tomorrow. Yeah. My necrometer just said beach. And ghost walk. Yes, we went on a ghost tour. So when we were in this bunkhouse and the EMF was going off, the REM pod was going off, and I was feeling cold around my legs. And I kept feeling that these cold, and Daniel would get cold in spots, and then he'd get hot, and I would get cold, and then some of the other people that were with us were having like these just in and out of cold and hot. And the temperature really wasn't changing.
No.
It was just like, I remember I was listening to one of the videos, and the guy's like, I said, I'm getting cold. And he goes, it has not changed. The temperature has not changed. So I'm like, I'm going to get my dowsing rods out. This was probably the coolest part of the whole tour, minus right at the end. I got the dowsing rods, and I'm not very good at dowsing rods because I have a lot of energy, and I feel like sometimes I start shaking, and I don't want to affect evidence or generate evidence. And dowsing rods can be manipulated, and people do manipulate them. I know I don't, and I try very hard to make sure I'm not deep breathing or breathing heavy, because breath will manipulate dowsing rods, so you have to be careful with those. So I get the dowsing rods out. I haven't done these since we investigated the house with Wayne. Yeah. And I'm like shaking out, just trying to get those started. And I get set, and we're talking to Tom at first, and then we start talking to Jake. And Jake liked me. Yeah. Jake was very talkative, and you can feel the pressure. And it was very slow. They aren't fast. When I do dowsing rods, I'm not forcing these things. And we have it all on video. You can see these moving. And you would ask a question, and they would cross. And then I'd say, thank you so much. Can you reset these for me? And you can see one will open and the next one will open. And what's crazy is if you watch these videos, I just got chills, you can see orbs. They're not the bugs, because you can see the difference of the bugs.
Right.
You can see these orbs almost surrounding me at the dowsing rod level. It was really cool. So after about 5 minutes, I did it for about, I think 6 minutes. I started getting really tired. Like I was being drained. So I'm like, Daniel, do you want to do it? Daniel's very good at dowsing rods. He's very patient. He's very calm. They were responding to Daniel.
No, they
did a little bit, but
like maybe the first 2 questions, and then that was it.
Yes, but it was like, do you want to talk to one of the women again? And they crossed it.
I'd given them back to you at that point.
And I gave them back to Emily. I said, Emily, do you want to try these? Emily's my best friend who went with us. And Emily has never touched a dowsing rod. She's never seen them work. When I say she doesn't know how to do them, she had no prior instruction on how to work these rods. She has the rods, and they start crossing. And you can tell she's like watching them because they are moving on their own. She is not moving. She is locked in.
Yep.
She is not breathing heavy. She is calm. And every question they are answering.
And what's crazy to me is when you're doing them, like it's one thing if they open or cross, but then for them to go back to neutral.
Very slowly.
Yeah, when they go back to neutral and
stop,
and it's like,
yeah,
that's to me like kind of proof positive is when they can go back to neutral and stay there until you ask another question.
One of the things when we were asking questions when Emily was doing them, and I have it on video and I shared it on TikTok, I haven't done it on Instagram yet, is he put a flashlight out. Now flashlights, most of the flashlights that these investigators use do not have remotes. So I don't know about this one. The reason I don't doubt this is because you can see an orb. He puts the flashlight out and I'm like, can you turn that flashlight on for me?
Bam, immediately.
Immediately it comes on. But what you need to see in the video is there is an orb that comes from where Emily is. It goes directly to the flashlight. And the moment it reaches the flashlight, it turns on. That's crazy. And then you see it hovering. That just gave me chills. Yes. The orb is hovering over the flashlight. And you can see it. It's not a light anomaly. It is not a bug. This orb went from Emily's dowsing rods to the flashlight. The flashlight turns on, and then I'm like, can you turn it off? And it is hovering there, but he could not get it off. And I was stunned. I've never seen one in person do it. Yeah. But because, I'm like, okay, well, could it be a remote? But because I watched that orb in that video fly from Emily to the flashlight, that was, to me, was some of the most hardcore evidence and solid evidence that we got all night. Yeah. Just that the dowsing rods were wild, the way it was answering. But just to go, I have no words. It was so cool. We were just talking away and my audio just cut off. But yeah, what we were saying was my necrometer just said Emily's name. Yeah. One of those guys liked you and one of them liked Emily. And then after that energy kind of calmed down, we all moved down to Solitary. Yeah, which is in the same building. It's just further down the hallway. So it's kind of its own little wing. Yes, and that's where the Joker is. And Joker's the one that when we went into Solitary earlier, that I could feel his presence. But when we went in there, the music box went off. But like I was saying, like I don't know for sure if that music box wasn't picking us up and our movement right at the door. But it was, I started being touched over here. Do you remember that? I was being touched in the bunk room, remember? And I was like, is there a bug on me? And you said no. Right. And when we were down there, you were standing beside Emily and I was standing behind y'all. And I know that she hadn't touched you. And you looked over and was like, did you touch me? Yeah, something grabbed my arm. And it wasn't me and it wasn't Emily. And there was nobody else there. So I was standing right behind you. You were standing behind me. And I kept looking over my shoulder because I remember I made eye contact with you one time and you kind of looked at me funny, like, why are you looking at me? But something was touching my leg and something was touching my arm and something pulled my hair. So something was touching on me. But then when you went into Joker's cell and sat on his bed. Something was touching my ankles. And then the video Ben got with, he sent that to me. Multiple orbs of different sizes coming in and out of the frame. They were surrounding me. So yeah, that was pretty wild. Yes, and the only reason, so orbs can be debated, okay? Orbs can be totally debated depending on who you talk to. Because yes, there are light anomalies. Yes, there's dust. Yes, there's bugs. When we were in that room, we were all taking turns in that room. There were no orbs. But when I went in, they surrounded me. And Ben was like, they are all around her.
He was recording each of y'all going in there, and there was no other orbs.
And in the video, you can hear me say, something's touching my ankle. And I was like, I felt something touch my arm. But yes, whatever it was touching me and rubbing my hair, pulling my hair. Like, it wasn't scary, but I could definitely feel, I had to go outside because whatever it was, I'm not going to say it was attaching itself to me. It was loving up on me.
It's like, okay, it's time in here is done.
Yes. Yes, Ashley, for Ashley to exit the bunkhouse. Ashley is well liked by Joker and Jake. It's time to step out. Bye, guys.
Yep. So after we left there is when we went back into the Rick house.
We went to the hot house first.
That's right.
You didn't go in there.
I did. I stepped in there, and then Ben saw the door to the Rick house was open, so I went with him to see what was going on.
What's funny is Ben had issues with the doors in the bunkhouse opening. There were some doors that were supposed to be locked, and they were not locked, and they were open, and we got to go in those rooms. Yeah. Oh, before we move on, in solitary, remember I kept looking back behind me because I felt like somebody was standing behind me. I used my SLS camera, and I got a figure standing in the hallway behind me.
It's funny when you said that, because when I was standing there, kind of everybody was mingling down the little row of cells in solitary. I was kind of staying back towards the main wing, and I just kept looking back down that hallway and just like sensing something, but that's where your SLS picked up something. That's also where Ben felt, but that's where Ben said that he had
two people, and he caught him on camera. He has a picture of them. And I didn't know that. And so I caught these figures on my SLS, and I was like, there's something like hanging out around the doors. And then he's like, check out this picture.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh. So it's really cool because, you can always like have some doubts, like, okay. But when somebody comes to you with that evidence that is very similar to yours, and they don't even know what you're talking about, and they're just like, you won't. So after we left the bunkhouse, we went to the hot house. Daniel went in there for a second. Like I said, the hot house to me has a vibe, but it wasn't like heavy, like he was telling me other people had felt. Not saying it wasn't.
I mean, I could see how people would feel that for sure, but I didn't sense that as much. It felt heavy, somber, I think would be the best.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
But it didn't feel like
evil.
Yeah, it didn't feel evil.
No, or like angry, because I can feel anger more than I can feel other emotions. I can feel sadness, but I didn't pick up anything like super heavy, but it could have just been the day. It could have just been the fact that nobody's been in there for a while. Yeah. Because he had said because of the rain, they haven't been able to do tours for a few weeks.
Yeah.
But we had a really cool experience with Justin in there. Our friend who's also never done dowsing rods, and he's very skeptical. He's like, I was like, hey, do you want to try these? And this is where my vision kind of comes into play. And he's like, yes, I'm going to try them. So he's standing there. The only light is coming from the one door. It is shining on him. And we are asking him questions, and it is moving. And his face,
he's
so funny.
Because he knows he's not doing it.
It is like that pure shock of like disbelief, but also belief, because he knows he's not moving.
Confused belief.
Yes. And the thing is, with the four of us, we're four of the most honest people you'll ever meet. We're not going to fake evidence. Watching all of us interact with these dowsing rods, each of us, and feeling the pull of these rods in your hands, it is unbelievable. Unless you do it and you can feel, I just got chills again. Unless you do it and you feel it and you experience it, it's really indescribable.
Yeah, it's so slight, but
you can feel
definite.
And they're using you. They're using your body as a way to communicate. And so to feel these move in your hands. Yeah. And the way they move, I didn't know this at first. You have a copper rod, and it's inside of another copper tube.
Yeah.
So you can control them if like certain things you do.
You're holding the tube.
You're holding the tube, not the rod. So the rod is able to move in that tube.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was really cool to watch his face and to know that that was the face that I saw him in my vision in my head. It was just, as somebody who's coming into some gifts that kind of confuse them and I doubt sometimes, that made me feel like, okay, I do have something here and there, right? Well, then we go, while I'm in there with Justin and Emily, Daniel has wandered with Ben into the barrel house and he's a bald man. And Ben's like, go walk up those. So I'm going to let you tell it.
Yeah, so there's one row that's between racks 2 and 3 that men typically walk down, bald men. And he said any men, but especially bald men, if they don't like you, then and this is where the bunks would have been. And you're basically walking in the space between where 2 bunks would be. Said if they don't like you, don't want you there, you'll feel spider webs.
Yeah.
And so,
like fingertip.
The first time I walked down there, I got maybe 2/3 of the way down, all the way to the wall, and was like, nope. And I came back out. And then I did it again and got all the way to there and was able to make it to the wall and send it. But I was just like, okay, nope. Felt like that time it didn't feel like so much like spider webs, it's like tingling. And so I was like, okay. And then,
did you feel it on your head at all, or just your arms?
Just my arms. I didn't feel it on my head.
Definitely.
But Justin tried it. I don't know if he felt anything. And
I can't recall if he did or not.
And there was another
The
guy,
gentleman with the pouch.
He didn't feel anything.
He did.
No, he didn't. No,
Okay, was it the other guy?
There's only 3 of us that went back there.
One of them did feel like spider webs because I remember them saying, I felt spider webs on me.
One guy actually went through one of them and felt actual spider webs.
Okay, real spider webs.
But that wasn't the same rat. He was up a couple.
Okay. That was Justin.
No, it wasn't Justin.
I'm pretty sure it was Justin because Justin's like, I think I felt real spider webs.
But there was another guy that went after Justin and I went, and he's like, he didn't feel anything.
One of them did feel it. I think it was the taller gentleman with the pouch with the equipment. I think he felt something. I'm pretty sure, if memory serves me right, he felt something. Well, after they decided to walk up and down, like Emily and I went in the bathroom because apparently women get touched in the bathroom. We didn't feel anything. We did see a dead cockroach. And so that Emily noped right out of there. And then we went and put the REM pod, and we sat around the REM pod and we talked, and we were trying to get the cat balls to go off.
Yeah.
Cat balls did not go off except every time I accidentally kicked the table.
Yeah, we had EMF readers, the cat balls, the REM pod, all sitting there on the table. And we must have sat there for 10, 15 minutes maybe?
I know we recorded an 8-minute video of the REM pod going off.
Yeah, but I'm talking about before that.
Yes.
Before anything went off, before the EMFs, before the REM pod, anything. We sat
Nothing.
We sat there for 10, 15 minutes.
And then Ben went, he's like, this happens sometimes, let me remove myself.
So he left and
see, we doubted this because we're like, well, did he turn something on down there? Because he left and then everything started. But when he came back, it was still going. Yeah,
and it didn't start immediately after he left either.
But we all questioned that. We're like, did he go and turn something on down there?
Yeah, I've got the video. It's literally an 8+ minute video.
It was responding because I was like, oh, you're doing green? Can you do the next color? Yep. Can you do blue? Blue is my favorite color.
It was going crazy.
And then I said, can you... It just, my necrometer just said burning in a fire and then walk down.
But yeah,
that's crazy. We have Lizzie. Is Lizzie with us?
It was going crazy. And,
it was going nuts.
And the EMFs were corresponding to when it would go off, and they would, like, mine and Justin's were on opposite sides of the table, and mine would go off, then his would go off, and the REM pods
steady going.
And
I was
EMF.
I was resetting the REM pod as we were going.
We reset it 3 times.
Yes, I was resetting because I was like, okay, I need to make sure that this isn't just going haywire. The battery's not dying, and we need to change the battery before we use it again because I'm pretty sure whatever they were using that to charge. What's funny is one of the pictures you took of me in the barrel house. There's a shadow behind me, and it's in that doorway. And I'm not saying it's a person, but if you look at it, it looks like it is a young girl. It is a figure. It is not big. It is like the size of a daughter standing behind me.
And the other thing is, like, the REM pod doesn't go off unless you actually, like, get really
you
right
have
up
to
on
get
it.
close to
physically. It's not like there's nothing electromagnetical or any kind of wavelength that's setting it off.
Yes, and my phone was on airplane, and Daniel, Emily, and Justin were all distance away that their phone would not interfere with the REM pod. And Emily's phone was on airplane as well. So we sat there for a long time, and it was going nuts. And when I would ask it to make a color, it was putting forth the energy to produce the color. And mine has never done that before. And it was incredible to watch. And I will say, I haven't told you this, Ben sent me some EVPs to listen through. Most of them are me. I'm not even going to lie. One
surprise,
was
surprise.
Surprise, surprise. One was you answering me because I said, is there a bug on me? And you said no, but it was very low. And so Ben thought it was an EVP. Yeah. Because you were looking down. You were like looking at my arm and my leg and you're like, no. And I heard you, but I have it on video. So I'm able to kind of like debunk some of the ones he sent. But one of them, you hear a young girl's voice.
And where were we?
I can't remember where we were. I have to look, but it was not my voice and it was not Emily's voice. And that woman that was with us, she didn't say a word. So, and it was a young girl's voice. It was not like a woman's voice. It was high pitch, like a, It was weird. And then there was another EVP and I heard it because I heard somebody say something and you can hear me in the recording say, did you hear that?
What was it? What did they say?
I don't know, but I heard it. And I don't know where we were. Now, when he sent them, he sent the locations. I just don't have them in front of me. But I heard something and my response was, did you hear that? So one of them I physically heard with my own ears. But I can't tell you what it said. So it was very cool. It was a really cool evening.
Yes, it was.
Ben was amazing. Y'all, if you're out that way, y'all go check it out.
Make a trip.
It's $50 per person. You get your money's worth.
Give yourself time to go shopping in Concord.
Yep, we did too.
It's like 20, 30 minutes away from Concord. Pretty little drive out there.
Gorgeous drive.
And
traffic's nice flow of traffic. It's easy.
So,
we're so old. We're like, the traffic was great.
Yeah. Get you
highly recommended.
Get you some food at Cantina 73.
Oh, yep. Tell them Daniel sent you.
Get you some drinks and some bourbon from Southern Grace and take you a ghost tour.
It was worth it. It was, $50 per person. It was well worth it. It was entertaining. It says it runs from 7 to 8:30. We were out there until 11:30. Yeah. It was great. It was well worth our money. It was, the thing with ghost tours, and I'm going to tell you, believers and skeptics alike, you get what you want out of it. If you're going to go and you're going to put your thumb up your ass, guess what? You're not going to have a good time.
You're not going to have any value.
You're not going to have any value. You're just going to be miserable the whole time. If you're going to go and you're going to believe every single thing is paranormal, well, that's going to be your experience. You're, oh my God, it was so active. But if you're going to go out there with an open mind, you get what you get or you don't get what you get, and you just enjoy the history and you enjoy the experience of being in this part of North Carolina's history. Yeah. You're going to have a great time. So highly recommend it. Go check it out. The evidence that we got personally was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And yes, we will be going back.
Something going on up there at Southern Grace.
Something.
Besides making wonderful bourbon. Yes,
Daniel's a fan of the bourbon. I am a fan of my new oversized hoodie. And I enjoyed Jake and Tom. I think they were great. They really were our most active ghost.
And shout out to, I don't remember his name, the guy that was doing the tastings for us. Super knowledgeable, super nice guy.
Was it Sebastian?
Maybe, I'm not sure.
It wasn't Taylor. I'm looking at their pictures. Maybe Zach. I think it was Zach. Is that him?
Yes, Zach.
Okay.
So big shout out to Zach. Really talked us through all their different aging processes, other bourbon, flavor profiles. Just
really patient guy. Worked with Daniel and Justin for a really long time. So, they were really great.
Very good experience.
It was. Even if you are not a believer or you don't want to go to the ghost tour, it is worth just going up there and meeting the people, and just, it's really a cool vibe, but there's no food. So
they're getting food though.
Oh, they're getting food?
They're working on getting food. The older lady that took our drink order.
Yeah.
She's going to be the one. And one of the things she's really want to make is her pimento cheese. So they're going to have like pimento
I'm going to have to tell Ben to let me know when she starts making it, because we love some pimento cheese.
And his barbecue sauce is fire.
Oh, yes. Oh, hold on. So Ben is not only a tour guide, but he also makes barbecue sauce. And I don't like pepper. Okay. I am not a pepper girl. I am Puerto Rican who doesn't like spicy or pepper. But I like spicy more now.
No, she's spicy, y'all.
But he makes the most amazing barbecue sauce. We all were like, you make this?
Yeah, it's super good.
Oh, okay. So let me see.
He has multiple different flavors. I mean, we just tried the one.
Yes. Check out his website. So his barbecue sauce is Angel's Share BBQ LLC. You can find that at angelsharebarbecue.com. I will tag that in the show notes. If you love some barbecue sauce, y'all got to try it. It's so good.
And we keep talking about the bourbon and Southern Grace Distilleries. The name of their bourbon is Conviction.
Yeah, I love that.
So,
and we went on a conviction tour.
yep. So
very cool. And if you go because you heard this episode, you make sure to tell them that Ashley and Daniel with Ghost Gossip said hello.
Yep, for sure.
Well, that is our episode today. It was longer than I anticipated.
It was a good episode.
It was a great episode. Yeah. So a lot of fun. I love these experience episodes where we actually have gone.
They're my favorite.
Well, yeah, because usually you're just listening to history and you're just learning.
Which I love. I love that
right.
too.
But this one, you can you're like, I was there. Yeah. I witnessed it. So I love these two. Come follow me on TikTok, guys. Ghost Gossip Pod. Follow me on Instagram, Ghost Gossip Podcast. Shoot me an email, ghostgossip247@gmail.com. And follow me on YouTube. It's Ghost Gossip 24/7. I don't know what's coming next. I don't have anything planned. We're getting into the summer. We're getting into the busy season. I might be just redoing some episodes and re-releasing them just to kind of get me through the summer. But I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you've enjoyed what we've been doing so far. We've had a really good time. Met a lot of great people. Until the next time we see you, they'll see you later.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Two people behind him.
He's just scared the shit out of me.
I know, I saw it.
Oh my God, it's